I mean, I can't do a lot of history of interactive, but I was thinking of some of the weirder versions of interactive in, you know, Burma Shave commercials. If anyone remembers those, the little Burma Shave things down the on the roadside 60 years ago. I guess we're in a sense interactive. And pretty clever, I thought, you know, and then the guy demonstrating stuff in a dime store was in a sense early interactive. So it's come around, and that's actually a little bit about what this panel is about. It's about all the different digital ad formats there are, all of them utilizing some forms of interactivity. It's like the next. It's what this medium can do better than any, it would seem to me. And there's just a heck of a lot of different versions of it out there, which is a good thing, and perhaps it's a kind of a bad thing. I'm going to let people introduce themselves and introduce their product and products at the companies they work for, starting here.
My name is Corey Bertels. I work as a product director at VivaKi, and I look after the Q Suite commercialization. Q Suite is the interactive video ad formats that VivaKi have pulled together through the innovations arm, which is called the Pool, for those in the know. And VivaKi is investing a lot of effort and a lot of dollars in new ad formats, and the Q Suite is one of those. So we're pretty excited to bring it to market. There is one unit that has been in market for 2.5 years, which is the ad selector. It was actually born out of the Pool, one of the first projects that came out of the Pool, and it was really about bringing together leaders in the market who brought together ideas, and really the Pool then brought to life the research behind it and the proof that they actually work. So that's me.
Hi, I'm Shahar Tiskelovich, the head of product marketing for AOL On. AOL On is the video offering for AOL. We create, curate, program, syndicate, and measure top premium content into 15 channels, over 600,000 videos, and syndicate all this premium content to thousands of different publishers. And of course, we sell this inventory to brands.
Okay.
I'm Michelle Ewell, Head of Digital Solutions at Dynamic Logic. And what we do at DL is we measure the effectiveness of digital and cross-media campaigns from a branding perspective. So the impact on things like brand awareness and purchase intent. We measure video ads, and of course, all other formats. And we do that either through live campaigns, how they're impacting people in market, or through copy testing as well.
Good afternoon. My name is Jack Flanagan, Senior Vice President of Sales for Innovid. So Innovid is an advertising technology company that focuses on immersive video advertising, pretty much across all platforms, all devices. We've been around since 2007, and actually as a company that had started with video basically from the ground up, primarily starting with interactive formats. We subsequently moved into ad serving, where we provide an end-to-end solution on behalf of agency clients as well as publishers, to allow them the ability to create, deliver, and then also measure the effectiveness of their campaign. And I think the big thing in terms of like where we're looking down the road and innovating with our product line is really where it gets into connected devices and ITV and going beyond just PCs at this point in time.
I'm Paul Gunning. I'm the global CEO of an agency called Tribal. We're an ad agency. We do creative stuff that goes in all the ad units, I guess. We do a lot of shooting. We shoot for TV. We shoot for web. We spend a lot of money on talent, location, food, things like that. And so our clients want to put those efforts to best use. And so now with the effect of online video, what we're able to do with it, all the stuff we're going to talk about today, they're able to extend what's a pretty big expenditure in their marketing budget, anyhow, into all sorts of different environments.
How you doing? TJ Sullivan. I'm the SVP of US Media for Attitube. We are a video technology company, and our main business is an ad network, and we sniff out content with all our publishing partners. And then we overlay that with audience data, and then we serve up custom video creative that we build for free for the advertisers.
Great. You know, Paul, it's not to the exclusion of everyone else, but it seems that some of the things that your company is into seem to be a fairly good mush of what's happening in the biz generally. I wonder if you could explain some of them. Yeah. I wonder if you could just sort of expand on some of what you guys are up to there.
What we're doing? Geez. So we're in about 60. We have 60 offices, 64 offices around the world. So we're doing everything. I mean, if that's your question, are you asking that?
No, but actually, in terms of specific ad types and specific sort of initiatives in terms of advertising attempts.
Yeah, sorry, it's sort of overwhelming to try and just pull out some of the parts that we're doing. But so we're shooting a tremendous amount for online that we've just never done before, right? So we would typically spend weeks, months sometimes, and the end product was ultimately 30 to 60 seconds. So there was a whole lot of stuff left on the ground. That was several years back. But now what we have to be able to do is to take all those efforts that we've been doing and create more usable content out of everything that we're shooting. And we need to be able to do that in far less time with far less people and far less money than even before. So before, our assignment might be to come up with 1, 2, or 3 30-second end ad units. Now it literally can be to come up with 300, 400, or 500 pieces of content in the same amount of time. Actually, less amount of time than a few years ago. Less amount of writers, less amount of art directors. And that equation is just literally getting, I guess you'd call it worse, but that equation is just getting harder as to how we're going to produce and keep producing all this content in a profitable way.
And all the
but
less
it's demanded by the clients.
And all the less that you're talking about is less because you're doing more, but there aren't more people doing it. Is that what?
No, marketing budgets aren't growing.
Yeah.
There was a guy up here who was talking about we're not shifting from TV to online. We're trying to extend budgets. Maybe that's a good goal. I'm floored to hear that. I mean, across our clients worldwide, the marketing budgets just aren't growing. So it has to come. In fact, they're largely shrinking in most cases. So we have to do not just 10% more. We have to do literally 400x more than we used to do in this environment. And it's fun because there are no rules anymore. It's fun because the impact it can have on your client's business is huge. And then you start to have a pretty good relationship with your client because you're driving their business. But it's a really hard equation to figure out for. And it's all driven by the fact that video online is a good opportunity, and there's lots of places it can go because of guys like these.
Yeah, you know, the idea of the pre-roll, the old traditional pre-roll it's traditional just in the few years that it's actually existed. Is that in your sense a sort of a lazy person's way out? Is interactive are pre-rolls ineffective compared to all the other ways that people could advertise in I mean, is people wasting their money by doing pre-roll by now? No?
You asking me that?
No, I'm just opening it up.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I wouldn't say that people are wasting their money with pre-roll. I think if anything, as we take a look at online video, the level of excitement is being able to take the assets of TV, sight, sound, and motion, and take the 15-second spot, 30-second spot, 60-second spot, and essentially transform it and layer in the interactivity of the web. So essentially where a video starts to play, you can have an overlay there, the screen can expand, you can create a microsite, and then depending upon the KPIs of a client and what they define as success, is it click-through rates? Is it the ability to have people spend more time earned? I think those are the things that really lend itself to a great opportunity when we take a look at the online video space.
And is that an opportunity you think that is being fairly fully utilized or at least contemplated by most advertisers or not?
I'd say if anything, we're in the very early stages. So I think some of the recent stats that I came across recently, in 2012, I think it was something like 6% of total digital spend was online video. and then breaking that down in terms of interactive, and again, this is not a hard number, but approximately maybe like 10% or so is actually interactive video. I think as at Innovid, when we're talking to clients, we get a lot of the aha of a, wow, I didn't know you guys could do that. So I think a large part of it is sort of evangelizing, educating, kind of showing them the full capabilities of what this technology can do for them in the online video space. And then from there, we think there's an abundant opportunity.
And go on.
I was just going to add that from an effectiveness standpoint, pre-roll video certainly has the potential to make a huge impact on on consumers' brand perceptions after exposure, and certainly in its early days online, it was having a much bigger impact just from pure novelty, and that has died down a little bit, but we're still seeing huge lifts in brand metrics from those types of ads. There are certainly newer formats that intertwine more engaging features so that users can interact and things like that, which tend to have certainly a larger impact, but an ad on its own certainly still works really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were going to say?
No, I was going to say, I think it's probably the biggest pitfall is to say pre-roll doesn't work. And I think folks on this panel get it, but in general, folks in the business of custom video creative, the biggest mistake and I guess most narrow way to say things is pre-roll doesn't work. And so what does work mean, and what are you trying to achieve? And I think that's the biggest problem, is that people say, well, pre-roll doesn't work. Well, what are you trying to achieve with your campaign? What are you trying to get across? Is it that you're trying to have a click-through? Well, maybe. I don't know if that's the thing. But I think it's a discussion that we need to have before we say, well, interactive pre-roll is far better, and we should be doing that. Let's find out what their actual KPIs are.
Well, certainly forever. I'm sorry. You're gone. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to comment on a pervasive theme throughout the day, which is us fighting for dollars, and it's been in existence since digital began, and we're now sitting in meetings where someone will argue for taking money out of TV budget to put towards pre-roll online video activity, which I just think is amazing. Like that's a great step forward.
That it's happening.
Yeah, that it's happening, and that we're repurposing TV creative just because it's there, not because because we have to. Kind of, it's not because we're choosing to.
And to the extent you know this or sense this, I mean, obviously advertisers have always asked, or you've always asked advertisers, what is it you're trying to accomplish? I mean, whatever the ads are. But is there a different level of those conversations that goes on when it's potentially an interactive play?
Well, in our formats, they each perform differently in all of those metrics, those buying metrics. So, if you pick the ad selector type model, then you're going to get quite high completion rates, for example, and that could be important for a particular campaign. Whereas
the ad selector basically is you're asking the consumer gets to choose basically from.
Yeah, there's nothing new about that format. Yeah. Our format is a multi-advertiser format, so you get the choice of 3, 2 or 3 up there, and that actually does improve. The completion rate, and it has a lot higher engagement. So that's the click-through and the activity around it. So whereas something like the social overlay, has higher purchase intent. Just because you're building the brand, you're building that interactivity with the brand.
But part of what also we talked about a lot today is that people have that there is some confusion about. There are so many places to put ads, so many different ways to put ads online that advertisers, brands are potentially confused by, where do I go? There's so much, and then you create X different kinds of. The Rising Stars sort of different modes for ads puts another bunch of ad possibility types out there. Does it? Do you potentially confuse the people who are buying?
I think the rising stars, I mean, it's good that you brought that up because certification is one of the challenges, or kind of consistency is one of the challenges that we face, because everyone has different systems, and building something like the rising stars and certifying people on them does give us that consistency, so we can broadcast our ad or stream our ad onto it. But I'm not sure it's actually adding complexity. I think it's actually the opposite. I think it's adding a surety that you can build something and that you can actually stream it on those publishers who are certified for it.
Yeah, in
a way.
In all those different ways.
Yes.
Anyone else on just the whole rising stars?
Yeah,
idea?
I think it's definitely going in the direction where I agree. It's definitely not adding complexity. As we're trying to shift TV budgets, and AOL is definitely trying to do that. It's giving us simply more options. We're creating a new world. We're not better than TV. We're bridging the gap, but we're giving more and more options for the buyers to create better engagement with their customers and with the consumers, so they can show better results at the end of the day from their campaigns that they're running.
Yeah, the engagement rates must be immensely better with interactive ads than the typical type, right?
Yes.
What's engagement?
Pardon me?
Yeah, that's
okay,
it's an excellent question. What is engagement?
Yeah, right.
It depends on what the KPI for the campaign is.
Yeah, go on.
Engagement rates are through the roof when you talk about custom video creative. I think, some of the panels earlier were talking about, though, we have to start speaking the same language as the TV side, though, because we talk about engagement rates, we talk about interactivity within our custom creatives, which is fantastic. I think, though, we have to have the same conversation that the TV folks are having as far as what is the audience, who they are, how we're reaching them, viewability. And so I think we need to start thinking about it holistically, other than saying, no, but we're better, we're more interactive, there's different points of engagement within our units. We have to start talking, I think, the language that the TV marketplace is talking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you think the ad formats can speak the same language? Because on TV, you just don't have that.
Yeah, but the thing is that when you talk about interactivity and you talk about creative, it's nice to talk about that. I think we can't start and lead with that, though. I think we have to lead with the audience, and we have to lead with why should you move your TV dollars? Not because you can put a dealer locator within a unit, right? Yeah. We got to start with, all right, who's the audience? How are they viewing it, right? And then we can start talking about the interactivity.
That's surely related to the fact that we're dealing with people who previously have been TV buyers, perhaps, and that's the only language that they really know. But obviously, Nirvana in the future, where we'd be talking,
no doubt,
the metrics that really belong to digital.
Yeah, it always seems like that the future seems to just get to be just one or few months ahead and someday we'll get to that future that where people sort of mesh up with what's out there and what they know. I mean, it's are we getting closer to that plot time when is the ad community figuring this out well enough?
Yeah, I think it's, again, relatively early, but at Innovid, we're already talking with customers on the agency side that are looking at running campaigns across multiple devices and connected TVs and things like Crackle or Xbox or Sony PlayStation. So I think we're starting to see the savvy marketers really trying to tap into that right now. And again, I think it just holds great opportunity in terms of where we can really take the industry in terms of online video, not only on PCs, but across other connected devices.
Yeah, does connected TV do much good or bad for? I mean, does it change the interactive portion of your business? I mean, is it altogether a good thing, or is it an iffy thing?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the last part there?
Well, is it iffy or is it a good thing? The smart TV.
Yeah, I'd say it's a very good thing. You know, again, from talking with a lot of the agencies, they get really excited about it. They have a lot of their clients that are really kind of forward thinking about where does this technology go and how they're best going to be able to leverage it. So from that perspective, you know, it's a large level of excitement. I wouldn't say it's iffy. If anything, you know, I think at Innovid, we think that's the future, and we want to make sure that we're well positioned to be part of it.
I think it is, but I don't think consumers are doing it yet at scale. So our clients are excited about what it can offer, but they're hoping consumer behavior actually adopts it. And yeah, there's some people that use it now, but compared to the amount of impressions somebody like a Volkswagen or a McDonald's buys, the very few people who are going to interact with the ad on TV today is so small that it's not a primary concern of theirs yet. They're really hoping it does, though.
It's still a relatively small percentage of people who interact with it online too, isn't it?
Yeah.
And is that a sort of a to be expected and it's building, as you're saying, or is that a fear, something to fear or worry about?
I think it's to be expected. I mean, you're casting a wide net. There's only going to be certain people who are interested in your message at that point, right on that second. But to TJ's point, if you start with the audience and you're hitting the right audience, then I think you're going to be able to get a little bit better engagement rates by being targeted. It's just sort of advertising 101. But the notion that at least our clients are, they're buying billions of impressions. And you're just not going to see engagement rates of billions of people. It'd be awesome, but it's just not going to be there. There's only so many people looking to buy a Volkswagen right this second. So we're hoping to get in front of them with those that are. We have a unique experience, a deep experience. Yep, I'd love dealer locators. We have the ability to drive them and do what we need to do, but for others, it's a pure awareness play.
Yeah, you know, it just seems like it's the world we heard about, 20 years ago. That someday you'll be able to, you'll see a commercial and you'll be able to click on something and you'll be, it's the old order a pizza and it'll be delivered thing. That you'll be able to click on that Volkswagen commercial and see, the specifications of the Passat. Here's where you can test drive one. Here's the closest dealer. I mean, I'm not exactly asking a question here, but it's sort of who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, but I think technology moves a lot quicker than what it has in the past now. So I mean, it wasn't that long ago that we had just phones that just were telephones without anything else on it. Now there are GPS and et cetera, and that changed within a couple of years. So I think that we need to be prepared for interactive TV that is using a method of interaction which is totally different to what you've got today, and it's logical that will happen, I think. And to your point before about how fast this industry changes, if we're traditionally talking about a 1 year period where we have these upfronts here in the States and everyone groups together for once a year and then goes, right, we're going to plan our next year out and we're going to lock in all our dollars. And that thinking won't work with digital because next year there will be something new and you have to assign some spend to something new that's going to work where the audience is, so, and just because there's no measurement there yet and that says that there's audience there, we know there's audience there and you've just got to be prepared to take the risk.
This not necessarily germane to anything necessarily, but are there companies that are I'm thinking the word is easy touch. Companies that are more interested in doing this, in trying every one of those new experimental forms of advertising. That you could, give it to Mikey, he'll eat anything, sort of thing. Is there any companies like that, or many companies out there that are truly experimental advertisers in a sense?
I think we're trying pretty much a lot of things. We're always looking for innovations at AOL. But to tell you the truth, the future I see here is a lot around formats that would give us content enrichment. We've always been around content, and I think the cliche will always be a cliche that content is king. And as we see more brands and marketers create the content itself, I see the future driving to these kinds of formats, driving more enrichment, engagement around the content itself.
There isn't one of our client that I know of that's not interested in it or not doing something about it. They're going at it different ways. Some of them have innovation budgets. Some of them are taking positions in startups. Some of them are relying on agencies or tech companies to approach them. So there's all different ways that it's happening, but every one of them is, in some sense, testing some new sort of ad format because there's a problem, that they're trying to solve. We have one of our clients in China, it was for one of their particular demos, said that next year they will have 8 million less minutes of that audience viewing on TV next year because they're just not watching as much. And they would have to spend $50 million more than they spent this year to reach the same audience next year. So they show these two numbers, 8 million, 50 million, and then they explain them. And it's obvious. There's a huge problem there. And so they're looking to solve that problem. They're going online. They're testing different formats to make up for what is that large-scale problem. And that exists whether you're spending it on TV and your audience is going away, whether you've been spending it in newspaper and your audience is going away, or FSIs and it's going away, or yellow pages and it's going away. The point is the consumer behavior is changing that they're solving for.
That's pretty cool. Who is that advertiser? That's pretty wild. So what will they do? Do you know? That advertiser?
What will they do? They're going to keep trying and testing and measuring and finding out what's working because they've got to solve a problem. But I think it's probably not viewed upon as a problem anymore. That it's just going to keep happening. Consumer behavior is changing so fast. We see not only just moving into the online environment and now screaming at speed light into the mobile environment, but even within environments like, how fast Facebook came up, and then here comes Tumblr. And it's just going so fast. So it's just going to be a constant stress to find something better than what's working because the marketing budgets aren't growing. So it's always going to be, can we find a different environment, a different vehicle, a different technology, and a way that we can measure it and compare it to something else that is likely going away. It's just going to be a constant, shift.
Is that not what we're doing with interactivity? Just to add that value onto pre-roll, it's going to give it that bit of extra. It's a similar thing to targeting,
right?
Digital targeting.
Right. All of you talked when we spoke earlier, to some extent about that there had to be some, outside body that sort of created a standard that of measurement and sort of an approval process in a sense for what you're peddling in interactive, because everybody has a different sort of product and has a different sort of claim for it, and that it seems to be off-putting to potentially to advertisers. Is that? I guess I gave away the answer, but is it most of you feel that that's what should be happening? That something like the IIB has to come in here?
I think you have to get them on board. At Publicis, they've spent a lot of money and invested a lot of time and effort into producing these new ad formats because they are going to benefit the entire industry. And by bringing together those industry bodies, I can see, someone like Publicis or WPP or one of the larger agency groups just pooling their agency dollars together and investing in that and driving it through the whole market. And that's kind of how we've seen our product. We want it to be adopted because it's going to raise the bar on the whole industry.
Right.
I think we need some standardization. We just have to be cautious that it doesn't become stifling. I think when you talk about the IAB and you say, all right, well, there's got to be some certain parameters. I think that's a good thing that we can all agree upon. But we don't want it to get kind kind of so narrow that we can't be creative and we can't get to that next innovation with what we're doing.
Go. Are we
Yeah, so time for some Q&A. Yeah, okay. I get this over to my fellow panelist here. Okay, say your name and title.
Sure. John Douglas, DG Product Marketing. Paul, this question's for you because you brought it up in the beginning. We talked a lot about viewability. We talk about RTB. We talk about interactive, and anyone now can drop a few buttons on an ad to make it interactive with minimal effort. What do you see is there a potential solution to the creative challenges you have in terms of creating more with less people? Is there something that the ad tech community can do to help with that, or is that really just a resource problem that you just have to live with now? What's your take?
I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that question. I mean, it's just a resourcing thing. There's so many art directors and copywriters that we need. There's things that we can definitely help. Dynamically generated work is hugely helpful, but we still need headlines that have impact, not just headlines that anybody can write 50,000 headlines, but if they all suck, who cares? So we need, really good creative to have the impact, and then I guess there'll be some tools, but I think ultimately it is a resourcing issue. These brands took 100 years to create themselves. They have a big place in a consumer's heart, and we're not gonna just let that brand exist in somebody else's hands to create with it and potentially negatively impact it. So we're very protective of who gets to work on it, but that is a limiting factor.
Another question?
Loon Wong, Dunhunby. If you had to pick one thing, and I think it's for each one of the panelists, I'm just curious, would you guys look at mobile video as the flexibility by platforms or the interactivity of all the platforms? If you had to pick one, so it's kind of a quick question. Is interactive portion of mobile video more valuable, or is it the flexibility for multiple platforms?
Well, because I work in the interactive side, I'm probably going to say interactive. But I hope to think that our interactive units will soon work on all platforms.
I would say the flexibility.
I'll go with interactive. I think the more impactful the ad is going to be more important than just being able to serve it in multiple places and not having as much of an impact.
I'll go with flexibility for all platforms.
It'll depend on the client. Which is a cheap way to say I don't have an answer.
I'd actually say neither yet, because I don't feel that. Well, I feel like in mobile, we aren't reaching people in the same way with video, right? I think there's a lot of interstitial video. That's what 90% of what we're serving. The interactive video that we're trying to push through our respective mobile platforms are cost prohibitive. So I think it's neither yet. I think we're still trying to figure it out, but I think we're all there. We all know that that's the future, but neither yet.
So that was consensus, right? Oh, right. No, I actually had a question for Michelle, and then
Okay,
yeah.
go on.
So is there a most effective online ad unit, or I mean, what can you? Is there anything you can say generally? I know that's kind of a weird way to ask that question. But.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there's any one most effective ad unit, like the holy grail of ad formats. But we've seen success across a number of different formats. We've done a lot of testing with the new IAB portrait unit, for example, using both survey research to see the impact on branding as well as eye tracking. And we see that it really garners just a ton of attention onto that ad unit compared to smaller and other types of formats.
I mean, maybe everybody in the audience knows what that is, but how does that? What is the portrait unit like? How does it present itself?
So I think the size is 300 by 1050, and it tends to have a number of different modules, one of which is a video, and then the others, it can be sort of taken in and out, and they may have interactive components or more pictorial types of components. But it's really very interchangeable and very flexible, so you can really do a lot of different things with it.
Hi, I'm John Osborne from Teats TV, and at the Video Insider Summit up at Mohonk last month, I saw the first format that actually separated the advertising from the media content. It was hit bliss, but basically the consumer would earn credits that they could then redeem when they wanted to consume the content, but it wasn't attached to each other. Do you guys see that kind of stuff happening, or any possibility, or is that a non-starter in your mind?
Non-starter. I don't think paying consumers to watch advertising scales. I don't, they can put it in some sort of parking lot if they're really interested to go see it later, but as a full advertising model, no way.
The only time I've seen it or heard of it is where you're at the airport and there's free Wi-Fi, and to actually access the Wi-Fi, you've got to watch a long form ad to get access to it, which I thought was pretty ingenious. But
That's good.
it's a bit different to your model, but it's still getting something for it.
I don't think anyone can argue that incentivized viewing is a money-making model, but in the long run, it's not good for the brands.
It's not advertising.
I think
not
it's
advertising?
probably a good way to make a big impact among a very, very small group of people.
There was another question I thought back there before, wasn't there not?
Was there a question back there? Okay, can I ask one last question? Because I just want to keep you all here all day. Okay, this is a lightning round question. If you had to choose between new ad formats and just making the market very simple so lots and lots of money would flow into it, which would you choose?
Oh, I'd take the new ad formats. I mean, the market could just get yawningly boring if we just leave it status quo.
Innovation is always exciting.
Definitely innovation. I think you need to create new things and innovate to keep consumers engaged and actually make an impact.
I'm going to go with the money.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm in charge of sales, so I think I'm sort of required.
I think it depends on the client.
That's Paul. Do you have a T-shirt that says that, Paul? Okay, TJ, where are you coming down on this?
I want innovation, but my wife wants the money, so.
Okay, well, all right. We'll take that answer. So I guess that's it, right? Yeah.
think so.
Okay, well.
Thanks a lot.